Hello and welcome to this episode of Be Bougie, Be Hippie. It's me, Eileen. I am all smiles. If you are watching this episode, you may already know who I'm talking to right now. But this is my new friend and brother in recovery, Dr. Robb Kelly. Dr. Robb Kelly, PhD, is a sought after recovery expert who believes in treating the causes of addiction and not the symptoms. Dr. Kelly has appeared on shows such as The Doctors, Eye Opener, Good Morning Texas, and Ken's 5 Morning News, a frequent contributor to radio and print interviews, including The Jim Bohannon Show, Miracles in Recovery, US Today, and participated in McLean Hospital's Harvard Medical Study on the stigma associated with mental illness. Dr. Kelly has hosted Sober Celeb shows and KLIF Radio in Dallas and currently hosts the Breaking Through Addiction podcast featuring special guests discovering a variety of mental health issues. Welcome, Dr. Robb Kelly.
Eileen, thank you so much. Hey guys, going to be a good one. Sit down.
Yeah, right. I tell people take out your notes, your notebooks, have a pencil handy, and just take a deep breath because what you are about to experience could be absolutely life changing. I have to say how I found you. My husband and I, both of us are in long-term recovery. And we are always on Instagram. You know, you have that relationship with your wife where you send each other reels.
Yeah.
And so late at night, when we're putting the kids to bed, he comes across your reel talking about rewiring your subconscious beliefs, brushing your teeth with your left hand. So he's like, let's do it. So we have been doing that. And let me tell you, as somebody who does a lot of subconscious rewiring, that is powerful. Can you share a bit on this practice?
So what we found, excuse me guys, what we found with studying the brain and the conscious brain, the subconscious brain is, especially around addiction, childhood trauma, PTSD, depression, is patterns. We found patterns of self-sabotage that was happening. And these patterns come direct from childhood trauma, which is the gateway drug. The problem with alcoholics and addicts, depressed, PTSD people is childhood trauma, we become more sensitive to it. So what, get off there, you're an idiot to a normal brain is they laugh, but to us, we take it personally. And that's what we found was fascinating. So how do we change from first thing in the morning to go out and have a great day? Well, what we studied the oxygen in the body, first of all, the brain. We only breathe 45 to 55% of our oxygen. Now, the presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease. Every disease in the human body starts in a hypoxic area. So if we're only breathing 45 to 50%, then no wonder we're getting sick, especially with the food we're eating. So what we decided to do is try, and Gary Brecker started this, 20 exaggerated breaths first thing in the morning. So the subconscious brain, guys, wakes us up. And the reason why it wakes us up is between 3 and 5 o'clock in a normal circadian sleep pattern. The body is at its lowest and oxygen is at its lowest. The subconscious brain thrives in hypoxic situations. So this guy, whether we like it or not, wakes us up in the morning. One of the reasons nobody's woke up laughing, by the way, ever in the morning is lack of oxygen. This guy wants to run the day. So by taking the 20 exaggerated breaths, 20 of them like that, what happens is you kill the subconscious brain and you ignite the conscious brain. Now, the conscious brain thrives on oxygen. Now, this guy is going to kill it. This guy is going to help people. This guy is going to be a success. So when we're alert and we're ready to go, we walk into the bathroom, let's change neural pathways from self-sabotage and create new ones. So by doing alternative weeks with left and right hands changes the normal pattern routine we have. Add that to standing 6 feet away from the mirror and saying, I love you 10 times. Now that's twofold. First of all, when you stand 6 feet away, your blemishes disappear and you see how people see you. Whereas if you're close up, shaving or putting makeup on, you see all your blemishes and subconsciously you think that's how people see you. When's the last time you were in the office, guys? Hey, Johnny, nice to see you. We don't do that. So we stand away. Now, here's the key. 300 neural pathways die every day in the brain. What are you replacing them with? Old pattern thoughts or I love yous with the oxygen and the alert conscious brain and out with the day. It'll change your life, guys.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So how often do you say somebody needs to do this?
And every morning, but definitely when you wake up every single morning, don't miss a day. And then if you're feeling a little tired or slightly depressed, do the 20 oxygens again. Get as much oxygen. If you do it 10 times a day, the better. One of the only reasons why people feel great, either running or going to the gym, is not the exercise. It's this in between the sets. So we're getting the oxygen in. And once we start getting the oxygen, it's a game changer, man. I mean, and the thing is, if you follow the routine and the stuff we talk about today, it's impossible to relapse. It's impossible to go back to PTSD, to depression, to the childhood trauma. And now with our new 90 breathwork journey we have, it's a software we have, we're doing work on Alzheimer's and onset dementia. That's how powerful this stuff is.
That's amazing. You just connected the dots for me. When I was homeless, I had my last bout. When I was getting sober, I had my last bout with homelessness. At 4 months sober, I was homeless. And so I had to run long distance to get to meetings, to get to the library, to get to shelter. And now hearing this, the breathing, the 10 plus miles of running are what helped change my subconscious beliefs that made it. I've never picked up a drink. My sobriety date is October 10, 2011. I have not picked up a drink since then. And from the day I got sober is when I really started running.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, it's again, neural pathway change from self-sabotage with addicts and alcoholics, depressed people. I was going to say alcoholics for now, guys, but you have to categorize the others. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made.
Mm.
It's impossible to go back. And the only problem I've had over the last 15 years in America is when I first came over, they stripped me of my license and wouldn't let me practice because they said what I was teaching was wrong. I now teach to those guys and seminar to those guys, the surgeons, the doctors, the board, the Texas board, is this is new neuroscience, guys. And a lot of people are stuck in the old way. So, well, I go to AA, my sponsor said this, and I'm depressed, so I'll go to the doctor and I take the medication. So a lot of people, well, I don't know. That's fine, guys. That's fine. But you have to Google me and you have to see the professional research that we've done and know where I come from. I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth. Let me tell you that. I come from the worst of the worst projects. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish my drink, my vodka. So coming from there to there, you have to have studied and have the knowledge and the aggression. I was sick of watching people die, Irene,
Yeah.
in and outside the rooms, the hospital. I was sick of people dying. The only reason they were dying is lack of information about what we're actually suffering from. Like depression, depressed wifey, husband, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. So if he doesn't ask, because you go to the doctor, I'm depressed, okay, take this medication, it'll be good. Okay, then, which is just a false serotonin,
Right.
because the medical dictionary in America defines depression as lack of serotonin. If he doesn't ask about your diet, your training exercise, your family, your daily life. He's just a high paid drug dealer, man. That's all he is. And we fall into that routine of the doctor. The medical doctor doesn't know shit about mental health. You can argue as much as you want. You cannot fix drug addiction with a drug. You cannot fix alcoholism with alcohol. See, when you say the alcohol, it sounds ludicrous. Of course but what about drugs? Oh, well, I take Suboxone. Brilliant. Use it as a taper. Watch my word, taper. If you're on Suboxone more than 3 months, guess what? The brain doesn't know the difference between pharmaceutical drugs and street drugs. You're still using. Don't fall into that crap. Well, I got it from the doctor. They don't know shit. Doctors are killing people because lack of information. God bless you, doctors. I love you. If I have a heart problem, I'm going to come to you. But listen to me very carefully. I will never go to my doctor for my general health ever again.
I'm in the same boat as you. I want to stand up. I want to jump up and down because what you're saying is what society needs to hear. There are too many babies. There are too many daughters, sons, fathers, mothers who are dying because we are saying that this old solution is what is going to solve their problem. And so it brought me to tears and I had to hold them back when you said that you are working on solving the causes of addiction and not the symptoms. And so that's what we're talking about. You said something. You said trauma is the gateway drug. Can you talk more about this?
First of all, everybody has childhood trauma. I don't care if you live in a $50 million house or you live on the projects, you have childhood trauma. The only way you're going to find out is if, and this is real layman, Eileen, if your relationships don't work out, if you can't keep a job, if you're da, you've got to find out, uncover, discover, discard of the trauma that's causing that. We don't just wake up one day and go, oh, relationships, it's not working out, I'm going to leave. No, we don't do that. We go way back and find out why our relationship isn't working out. So everybody has childhood trauma, and alcoholics and the like are more sensitive to that trauma, so it has a bigger effect. So what happens is, let's say a young child, say 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, in a dysfunctional house, dad drinks, mom's trying to keep his shit together, but dad comes home 3 or 4 times a week drunk, and they get into a fist fight with mom. Then the next day, and the child sees this, and the next day they get up for breakfast and husband's saying, I'm really sorry, I love you. And mum's going, I love you too. The child is taking on board that love is a fist fight and love is apologizing the next day. So what happens to that girl as she grows up and leaves the house with a boyfriend, for instance, she will 100% attract the same guy with the energy of the mind. We'll get into that later. The same guy that ends up beating her and drinking or doing crazy stuff, to the fact that if she finds a great guy, she'll self-sabotage that relationship without knowing she's self-sabotaged that relationship. And the same goes for everything we do today, correlates directly to what happened here. And there's always a what happened here. The problem being, back in the day, is there were no internet where you could share your feelings. So what happened to that abuse, that whatever it was, become normalized, that is the way life is. My mum and dad used to drop me at their friends every Friday night where they went drinking, get home, slept it off, pick me up Saturday. When the car pulled out the driveway, we had to play what's called a run around naked game. When we all got undressed, including the adults, run around, they would tickle us. I thought that was normal. So when I went to school, I'm saying, hey, do you play that run around naked game? They're like, what the hell are you talking about? But you know something, Eileen? I had serious problems with intimacy with women.
Yeah.
I was a bodybuilder back in the, I would never take my top off because I never wanted anybody to see me naked. Now, when did I discover that? About 25 years on. So all that trauma and it spickles off into different things around that. Like my eating was never great because I always thought I was fat, even though I had a body that was amazing. When I look back now, it's like, oh my God, I didn't feel it comes directly from that. This is the stuff we're talking about, not the car crash, not the divorce, nothing like that.
Right.
You know? And again, alcoholics and addicts, PTSD, you'll understand what I'm about to say. Normal people, I apologize, you won't understand this. True story. Me and my brothers on the kitchen table were stood on the kitchen table, and my mother comes home and she says exactly, guys, like this. Well, you get down off that kitchen table before your dad comes home. Get down. My brother jumps off and I freeze. Now, why do I freeze? Well, first of all, alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. What I've heard, get out off that table, you stupid idiot. I hear. So alcoholics and addicts hear things differently because we're more sensitive. And when I tell people that, they go, oh my God, yes. And it's the little things like this that we've studied and brought into the light to go, hey guys, first of all, why are 8 out of 10 people dying of alcoholism, addiction, childhood trauma, PTSD? Because we're being sold a lie that we need to be on medication to cure it. Because let's take depression.
Yeah.
The medical dictionary says depression in America is this: lack of serotonin. That's it. So I go to the doctor, not asking, first of all, why my serotonin is low in the first place, that can be fixed. The doctor gives me a false serotonin. Okay. Now that means I'm going to be 50% happier than I was. There's my low serotonin. So now this here is a false serotonin that I've got to stay on for the rest of my life. What happens to my natural serotonin is it depletes and it depletes and it depletes until this guy is the only way I'm going to be happy. Pharmaceutical companies go, boom, we got another client. Doctors go, boom, we've solved the problem, and I end up dying of that.
So everything you're saying, yeah, you are speaking my language and I'm nodding and yes, I get it and looking back at times. So now I'm thinking as a woman in recovery, as somebody who alcoholism, is just, it's rotted my family. And now coming to this point, and I love how you also said, I want to ask you two things. Alcoholics are born and addicts are made. So I love that because as somebody who's owned recovery homes for men and women with addiction, alcoholism, I have noticed the differences in the behavior of an addict and the mentality of an addict opposed to the behavior and mentality of an alcoholic. So can you talk about that?
Of course I can. It's the best question that people come back to go, what? What did you say? So alcoholics have what's called a predisposition. I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. I'm not allergic to alcohol. It's the ethanol in alcohol. But when I'm born with three parts of the brain that differ. Predisposition, three parts of the brain that differ: the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. Okay, differs from any other person. Drug addicts have the addictive personality. Both show up the same, both are crazy, but 90 something percent of people that come to us with a heroin addiction started in the doctor's office.
Right.
Now, what are the three parts of the brain? Guys, sit down, get a notebook. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about when I tell you about the hypothalamus. First of all, the basal ganglia is the round and round thing. Repetition strength confirms. You drive a car, you do it so many times. That's the basal ganglia, the learning part of the brain, and then it becomes a working part of the mind. So you don't even have to think about it. The amygdala is where all our trauma, more sensitive, tied to the trauma, all that crap inside us, stored in the subconscious brain. The hypothalamus controls temperature and stuff like that. We know that, but it also is our survival part of the brain. Survival part of the brain from birth, even though we can't cognitively bring it to memory. That's why mom and dad feed us. But the hypothalamus tells us, a human being, you have to drink water, eat food to survive. That is it. Fundamental basics of human beings. Hypothalamus, drink water, eat food to survive. Don't have to think about it. At a certain point of the alcoholic's career, the hypothalamus turns around and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. That's why we can go days or weeks without food or water. So when the survival part of the brain is telling the alcoholic, this is why there's a difference between alcoholics and heavy drinkers, telling us to drink alcohol to stay alive, even though it's the opposite, that becomes the disease where we have no choice when the hypothalamus kicks in. So how do we stop that from kicking in? Well, 10 years of research shows us that alcoholism will never come to me on a Friday night and go, hey, Rob, let's have a drink tonight. It's a week before. And even with drug addicts, it's a week before. So by looking at behavior, the behavioral science of addiction, you find out that something will happen here that will take 5, 6, 7 days before boom, it happens here. The relapse is not in the bar, guys. The relapse is not in the liquor store. The relapse is back here. When you started getting pissy, when you started causing arguments, not even thinking of drinking, just not in one of the moods. And if you don't stop it there and connect that to the trauma that you're still suffering from, otherwise that wouldn't happen, you're going to keep relapsing and you're going to die, period.
So, how does somebody start tapping into the trauma, tapping into that part of themselves? How does somebody start getting aware of what is continuing to keep them in a relapse cycle?
And you have to believe me, especially alcoholics and addicts, you have childhood trauma. Now, you can't do this on your own because the childhood trauma is stuck in the subconscious brain. So how do we pull that out? Well, we use what's called 9D breathwork therapy. It's a new software. It's been around about 6 months. We kind of started off in Texas, and it reprogrammed with subliminal messaging. There's the key. Subliminal messaging. So you've got 9-dimensional voices that you can't hear with a normal voice. And we do this online, guys, as well as in the studio. That changes that, number one. Number two is brain spotting. So brain spotting is a technique, and you kind of use a one. It's a little bit with EDMR, but it's not the same. What happens while you're doing this is your eyes will flicker and you hold it there. What that does, it goes through the pupil, direct into the subconscious mind, and I may stay there for 25 minutes and I will not move. And basically, what happens eventually is that subconscious trauma will come up. Are you thinking of anything now? No, 20 minutes. And we haven't moved. Are you thinking of anything now? "Well, my dad used to abuse me. Oh my God. No." And that's how we do it. And once we pull it out, so we've uncovered what it is, we've discovered what the act was, and that you need to be validated for that act. That's the big one, especially with women who's been molested or raped. No one's validated that. It's been swept under the carpet. Nobody's told them, yes, that happened. And I'm sorry that happened to you. And then we discard of it. And that again, subliminal messaging, all the program psychology, behavioral science that we use, and we get rid of it. Once you get rid of it, it will not come back again if, and this is the if. Neural pathways are thought patterns, guys. We believe with our research that every single neural pathway to health, to wealth, to success, best father, there's billions already in the brain. We truly believe that. It's like our learning thing. It's a neural pathway connected. Science, you might be great at science, that's connected. It'll never be unconnected. What happens with people in recovery, this is the permanent neural pathway away from trauma into health and wealth or whatever it may be you're chasing. What happens with the trauma is this. And I've got a video to prove it. We have a video in somebody's head, which I could share it now. And what this program does, it connects the neural pathways. Once the neural pathways are connected, it is impossible for them to disconnect. And it's also impossible for you to step back into relapse and depression. This is why when 300 neural pathways die, these connections every single day get stronger and more and more and more until there are hundreds of thousands and millions of neural pathways that are firing the right way. Now, there's 4 chemicals that need to assist this, 4 neurotransmitters: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. We all know that. This enhances the project. But did you know, guys, the 2 main ones, serotonin and dopamine, are created in the gut. So if you're not eating correctly, and that's a whole different story of methylation, which I'd love to get into shortly,
Yeah.
is the neurotransmitters for them 2 chemicals are not going to happen in the brain or not as strong, then you find yourself depressed. And it's a round and round circle that the medical fraternity and pharmaceutical companies got us in. And I stood up 15 years ago, 16 years ago when I come over here, and excuse my language, said, fuck this. You see, I wanted to know why this fucking disease took my kids off me.
Yeah.
I wanted to know why I nearly killed my wife. I wanted to know how I become homeless. I wanted to know how I committed suicide and died twice on the streets in Manchester. And nobody could tell me, Eileen, just go to AA. AA was awesome, man. Don't get me wrong, but meetings never keep me sober. There's something different in there where I'm acting different to the guy next door to me, and nobody can tell me why. So when I finally have that spiritual awakening and come off the street, I'm still aggressive. I'm still excited and I'm almost aggressive about this stuff today as I was when I first found out this some 20 odd years ago, because I was sick to death of watching people die. And I saw something the other day. I was doing a conference a year or 2 ago, and it says the controversial doctor from Texas. I ain't controversial, guys. I'm just going to tell you the fucking truth when it comes to dying or living, because
Right.
nobody else is going to do it. I tell you what other people are thinking. They've not got the balls. Oh, they might take my license away. I don't give a shit what you do to me. I died twice on the street.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Take my license off me again? You're going to take my offices?
Right.
What can you do to me that I've not already done to myself? And the answer is nothing.
Freedom. I have to say that is one of the things when you walk through, when you figure this out, when you find the resolution, it is freedom in every aspect of your life. I have a question for you too, which just has my mind going. So I know statistically that women succumb to their alcoholism later in life. And I'm wondering if that's because when women are 35 and plus, our gut health, our hormones change so much that that is where, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. You are opening up worlds for me and for
And with that,
women.
Eileen, with what you just said, it's also on the maternal side of
Mm,
the female. So
mm,
we hear time and time again that, oh, I was an alcoholic. I did that when my baby was born, I stopped. But after I became an alcoholic. So there's certain things in women, not in men, that it becomes later. So between something like 16 and 25 or something is when the maternal, not always, but it adds to what you were just saying, it adds up, and that's why.
Wow. So, somebody who's listening to this right now who's like, okay, I don't have addiction, I don't have alcoholism, but I'm really stuck in my own way. I'm in a broke mindset. I've got, shitty relationship after shitty relationship. What can you say to them? What can they do today to start shifting these cycles?
We found as well is alcoholism, addiction, stuck in your ways, CEOs, entrepreneurs, people who want to get ahead of life. It's kind of the same thing. Is first of all, okay, sit down, guys. You've lost your identity, especially women who break up with marriages. It was all his football team, is this? We've lost our identity. It's vital. Believe me, guys, I didn't know this word vital. Let me replace it with the Oxford English Dictionary's version. It's necessary to life that you find your identity, and it's not what you think it is. So that's number one. Secondly, I 100% guarantee that you can 100% change, period. If you're at home, the husband's left, you've got two children in a one bedroom broken down apartment, you're at a crossroads, brilliant. This is where we start. I love crossroads. Well, I can't do anything. J.K. Rowling. Well, I've been turned down. The Beatles, stop it already. Let's forget your political views. I'm not into politics. They've done nothing for me, but listen carefully. Well, I can't be president, they used to tell me years ago. We had a business owner in the country with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's just not true. So, in fact, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there.
Yeah.
The world is open. Find your identity. Start the stuff we're talking about today. Start finding out who you are, make a plan, stand up, be counted, be a leader. Well, I can't be a leader. You are not listening to this podcast by mistake. That's of 30 years of people telling me this, millions with my TV stuff and my books, tens and tens of millions of people have told me this, that you can start today. Do the breath work, do the teeth work, do the mirror work today. Compliment three people as you go through the day. Practice smiling, and you will change. But the biggest one, guys, is who you hang around with. So, two or three, four people can convince you trying to get well to fall back in unwell. How many times have you heard this? Don't be stupid, Rob. You can't be a doctor. You grew up on the project and you know, says who? Don't be saying, Julie, you can't write a book that says who. So make sure that you hang around the right people. Never be the smartest guy in the room. Hang around the people that you want to be. So how do we know this? Well, again, experiment in the office. We brought 9 actors in. We paid them. The idea was they come in, sat down. When the buzzer went, they all stood up, 5 seconds, sat down until they all called in. We brought one patient who knew nothing about this, strong-headed person. She come in because we're giving her some free sessions. All 10 were ready. All 9 actors stood up. She's on her phone. Quick glance, sat down again. Everybody stood up again. She's like, phone down. She's looking around. Sat down. She stood up with everybody else. Then she sat down, which was interesting. As we called the actors in, pretending they were patients one by one, she's there on her own in the waiting room. She stood up. Who you hang around with is vital. There's that word again to your journey in life. You know, I can go back to the projects tomorrow, Eileen, and I can help people. I can't fucking live there though.
Yeah.
I can't live there. If you put a fresh banana and a soiled banana touching each other, the fresh banana will become soiled quicker than it should have done. And that's the way you've got to love. You've got to let people go that you love, let people go that are not good. And watch this one guy. I've just lost 150 something pounds over the last 18 months. Listen to this one. Hey, Rob, I see you putting weight on. No, I'm just, and he's gone out of my life.
Yep.
I don't need that passive aggressive shit. I need people are going to lift me up. I need people are going to go, what, Rob? I was in Dallas for 14 years, 4 years ago. Hey, guys, I'm thinking of writing a book. Don't be stupid, Rob. No one will read that. You're not an author. Never wrote a book. Come to San Antonio, 4 years, a mere year. Thinking of writing a book. There it is. Thank you, Eileen. I wrote a book. I always wanted to, but they said, "Oh my God, I'd read that book." And in my opinion, I've never read that book, I mean. I've never seen myself on TV. I won't watch this. I will start to believe the hype, and that might be damaging. I don't know. Writing that book was one of the most healing things I have ever done in my life. Now, it was done week by week, day by day, as I give my wife different scenarios, and she'd write it down, and she created this book. Now, I don't know whether this is God or whether I was healed completely and ready to move on. But after we wrote the book, we didn't have a title. And a couple of nights after we finished, my daughter of 30 years estrangement messaged me on Facebook at 3 o'clock in the morning. She said, "Dad, call me Dad. I want to see you. I have something to show you. I don't believe what everyone's telling us." Now, we have people around us, as you can imagine. Within 4 hours, we're on a plane going back to England.
Mm.
Just after writing the book and walking with God and all that. The next morning, I stood outside her front door and I was petrified. I was shameful, guilt-ridden.
Yeah.
And before knocking on the door, she opened the door real quick and we hugged each other and we cried. And I was trying to say I'm sorry, but she grabbed me by my hand and she walked me into her front room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Mm.
And Eileen, right there and there, I just knew I was doing the right thing. And 6 weeks ago, today, 6 weeks ago, my youngest daughter got in contact with me. Now, my daughter, Charlie, we call her Charlotte, 4 years ago, she said she wanted to do what I do. We sent her back to college, and now she's my lead therapist in my Manchester office.
You want to know what's crazy is since reading your book and hearing that you had two daughters, I have been praying and setting intentions that your second daughter would come around.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Because
And
I am the daughter of a father who is still out there.
yeah, you know, it taught me a few things. Obviously, it taught me that you got to keep going. See, dads, listen to me very careful. Or mums, listen to me very careful. I'm going to say, my wife banned me from seeing the children. And she told my grandmother and my mum that if she ever gave stuff off me that I sent, she would never see the grandkids again. So every Christmas, every New Year, even when I was on the streets, I would send birthday cards and Christmas cards. And when I started to get wealthy, I'd say teddy bears and stuff, and I'd send it over to my mom. I thought mum was giving it to them, but she wasn't. And then about 4 months after I got reunited with Charlie, my parents died. So her and my sister went round to the house to start sorting through stuff before selling. There was a huge chest in the. God, I don't usually do this, Eileen.
Thank you.
I've not told this to anybody. My daughter opened the chest, and there was every single birthday card and present I'd ever bought. So, dads, keep going, man. You got to fucking fight for them kids. And even in your position when I was homeless, to not fight for them, I never forgot them. And there's a great song out that me and Charlie love, and it says something like, "I left, but I was never gone," or something, or something like that. It was I didn't leave. I was excommunicated, but I was always there for her. And by opening that chest and seeing all that stuff is one of the reasons my youngest daughter going, because they thought I'd forgotten about them. And you got to keep fighting, dads and mums. I don't care what it costs. I don't care if you have to steal a card. You write it and you send it off and you fight for them children, because I'll tell you something right now. I'm a wealthy guy. And I say that out of confidence with God and working so hard in my life. But there was a hole missing. A hole missing with my daughters and my granddaughter. Now, if you'd have asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what's the most important? I wanted to earn money. I wanted to be a millionaire. I got $1 million in the bank, wasn't enough. Got 5 million, not enough. Got 10 million, not enough. Because I was always chasing something and I didn't know what. And my daughters came in my life and there it was.
That's
I don't
right.
give a shit about money today. Easy for me to say, but the most important things in life is family for me.
Mm.
And it took me 30 years, but here we are today. I mean, I have everything I want, everything I need. So what I do is we run a multi-million-dollar company. I have 4 businesses, 25% of income, period. So we're taking $10 million this year, 25% of that goes back into communities. And what we specialize in is we specialize dads or mothers that are fighting to get their kids back once a week. We will pay for an apartment for a year. We'll pay all the legal costs. We'll buy him a suit. We'll take him to court. We'll buy him an attorney. We'll get his kid back for 1 day a week. And that's our job done. I monetary bless somebody every time I leave the house. I'm blessed to be able to do that. And I help people every single day. If one of my staff isn't carrying a pro bono, they don't work for me.
Wow.
So if they're
Wow.
not carried and somebody as a patient goes, well, I can't really afford the fees, that's their pro bono. And if you don't take that pro bono, we dismiss you from the company, and that's in the contract.
Wow.
$150,000 me and my wife give back out of our bank account back in to homeless people in England and in the USA, and help them get off the streets and help them, get their life back. And that's just something that I have to do for humanity today. I mean, God pulled me off the streets and saved me and all that great stuff, and we love Him for that. But at the end of the day, this is my responsibility to do this. My responsibility is not to keep sober. That's gone. It's
Right.
alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. Let's get to the fact here. But yeah, and that's what I do today. So thank you for asking the question. It was a long-winded answer, but
That
yeah,
was
that's kind of what it is.
beautiful. And now I want you and your wife to be in my 5 people that I hang out with, because I feel like I'm at the beginning of that. My husband and I opened structured sober living programs, and then I was told you have to sell them and you have to move and you have to continue this work in a different way. And so here I am trying to work on the other parts of it, the wealth building, the blocks that are coming from more trauma. Like you said, it's not me trying to get sober today, it's me trying to figure out how to not to break those subconscious beliefs that are keeping me from exactly what you're saying,
But
because we
that's
do
the
have a
real problem.
responsibility.
That's the real problem is everyone wants to concentrate on the alcohol. Got nothing to do with it. Well, it's got 1% to do with the alcohol. So you can recover from alcoholism overnight. Don't buy into, well, you didn't get sick overnight, so you can't. That's bullshit. Yeah, you can. You can get sick. If you're an AA guy, the third alcoholic recovered immediately, and I recovered immediately. But the problem is, it takes months and years to go back. And I'm teachable today. I still come up with trauma. I went, oh my God, yeah, that's why I'm doing this still. That's a lifelong deal. But you got to buy into the fact that this isn't the alcohol or the drugs or the depression. It's got nothing to do with that. The problem is here. You'll probably remember this line from the book. I never had a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem.
So you also mentioned, this is amazing, and I can think of so many men. I remember sitting with men sobbing, bawling their eyes out and saying, I don't think about drugs, I think about my daughter, and then I go and I use drugs.
Yeah.
And so I have a handful of people more that I'm going to send this episode to directly to their inbox because they need to hear what you're saying. You also talk about somatic training.
Yes.
Can you share on somatic training?
So somatic experience has been around for years and years, but we've never taken it seriously. It's a bit like the gut feeling. We don't take the gut feeling that seriously. We go against it. The gut feeling is so real, it's unbelievable. It goes back to the tribal days when one of the tribesmen would get a gut feeling that there was danger near and they would run away or prepare to fight. Somatic experience is learning to listen to your body. Okay. So remember when I said the relapse is not here, it's here. Once we start to listen to our body and really understand what we're going through, you can spot them changes. You can spot that gut feeling, if you will, and you can amend before it happens. Our body with anything will tell us way before this understands what's going on. So in a reaction, the behavioral science of it, the somatic side of it, whether you're meditating, doing yoga, getting massages, being kind to yourself, that's when the somatic experience and your body starts talking to you. And you have to, so it's body, mind, spirit. I've never seen a real alcoholic that's sober, that's an atheist. I just haven't seen it. If you are, show me one. I haven't. Somatic experience, you've got to listen to the central nervous system of the body, and then obviously, the rest is the childhood trauma stuff that you get over. So, psychology, NLP, brain spotting, somatic experience, psychology, 9D, which is 9D is a bit, I can't explain 9D. It's a subliminal messaging software that takes 12 months of therapy into a week.
Mm.
We guarantee. We're the only people that have got a 98% success rate. No one. The latest one too is 11%. We're the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you've relapsed or fallen into depression. No, but you can't do that. Says who? We've been doing this for 15 years, never refunded yet. So
Yeah.
all these great things that we use, somatic experience is very, very important. Just learn to listen, read up on it, go for some sessions. Who's a practitioner, like all of us are, and then learn how to listen. And I'm telling you something right now. You will never get into trouble because your body will go, You will never get into dangerous situations, You will never make a bad. You got to listen to it. And it tells you every single time. And, it bodes for a 10 out of 10 every day. It bodes for, I never have bad days, but I have better days than others. But every single day I'm a 10. Every single day I'm happy. And, when you can't be, says who, man? You see,
Mhm.
we're missing out on life. Years and years ago, our grandfathers and their fathers, they didn't suffer from the diseases we have. We've got to stop telling grandmother to put an extra layer of clothing on and turn the heating up. You got to take it off and get outside in the fresh air or get the oxygen. It's shown that people who follow a simple diet, more raw foods, the methylation, more fresh air, 20 minutes of exercise, live longer. But look at our daily lives. Get out of bed, jump into the shower, jump into the car, travel to the office, sit at a desk, get back in. We don't do anything, man. Human beings are not meant to sit down. If you think about the early days, there were no chairs. We're not meant to sit down. We're meant to hunt. Different meaning today, same thing. Get out there and earn money. We're supposed to socialize. We did some research on death row, and what we found was they have a jail here in Texas. What we found was most people on death row that actually was ready to go to the chair or the needle was insane. And the easiest way to make someone insane is to isolate them and take their identity off them. This is why COVID played a big reason into everything happening now is, stop isolating, stop losing your identity, stop putting masks on and, not being able to speak to people because it drives us the opposite way. It's not good for our mental health. There's more people suffering from mental health problems today because not because of COVID, because of the isolation and the mask. Your identity goes. Hey, there's Rob. Put a mask on. Is it Rob? I don't. Your identity's gone. So you've got to be really aware of what's going on in the world, aware of what you put in your mouth, aware that you can 100% recover, be aware that you can 100% succeed. Whatever you want to do, you can succeed. Like I said before, if you think you can't, somebody's put that. You need to get rid of that shit and hang around the people that go, oh my God, why have you done it already, Rob? Jeez, you don't make then guys. And don't put
Yeah.
any with any shit with anybody else because it will affect you.
I love this. So I have some questions that I want to ask you. Yeah. Yeah. So one of them is, what is one piece of advice you would give younger Rob?
Stop worrying about what people think about you.
Hmm.
That's it. Nothing else.
I love that. What do you see the future of your business in the next 5, 10 years looking like?
So we have four businesses. We have this business. I own a British restaurant next door to the offices. I own that as well. I have a security company. I have conference companies. In the next 5 years, it's going to be crowned. We will. We've just started the Robb Kelly Foundation. Open a 100-bed rehab. Well, not rehab, but a staying centre for people who can't afford rehab. And the idea is not only just for a bed for the night, but you book in for 3 months, and in that facility will be a housing unit, it'll be a clothes unit, a benefit unit, all this stuff that you can get yourself back online. That's happening in the next 5 or 6 years, and I'll never retire. But in about 5 or 6 years at a time, I'll probably sell everything or move on to the coast and get a nice beach house. But then everything I do will be pro bono and I will never stop working. My father always told me, and I truly believe, the day you retire is the day you die. I'm not meant to retire or sit down, guy. He lived till 90. He was cycling 20 miles a day when he was 85. So
Love it.
that's hopefully that's what I'm going to do.
Love it. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to see that 100 bed facility. I have similar dreams, and I'm absolutely elated that you are doing this work. When I read that you had done work with McLean's Hospital, It took me back because we've had so many. We're here. Our sober homes were in Massachusetts on the North Shore, right outside of Boston, Meth Avenue, Methadone Mile. And people were coming, in and out. And McLean's is one of the hospitals that we worked with. And so to hear this hits home for me.
Yeah, we love talking to. I mean, like I said before, the guys that took my license, we teach to them today. We teach in hospitals, universities. We teach in facilities that not only just on addiction, but mindset and getting better and eating healthy and all that stuff. We just knew we were onto something, and me being pig-headed, and God giving me the body I have and the attitude that I have, that I will give you the last dollar in my pocket. But if you want to fight, I'm good with that as well. It doesn't make any difference to me. And when you become that powerful and realize you're that powerful, and a lot of people don't, you know.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here on this earth and doing the work that you do. Thank you for giving yourself that third, fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th, 15th chance. This is a powerful, powerful episode. And any resources that you have. And like Dr. Robb said, do not hesitate to reach out. Do not hesitate to start doing this work because, as we say here at Be Bougie, Be Hippie, love yourself, love others. You are loved, you are supported, and you are so worth it. It's just giving yourself the chance. Don't count yourself out before you begin. Thank you, my new brother in recovery and friend. I'm so, so grateful for this opportunity to spend this time with you. And hopefully, this will be one of many that we come together. So, thank you. And thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.